In one of Sidney J. Harris's columns, I read that an advertising copywriter was fired from his job for dozing at his desk during work hours. And he went on to comment that he couldn't sympathize with his plight, for if he had really been adept in the art of salesmanship, he surely could have persuaded his boss that he was not dozing, but was in a creative trance. I remember a case during World War II when a tired guardhouse sentry who had little imagination lay down for a snooze with his head against the wall of the guardhouse. When he was discovered by the watch officer, he was ready. The watch officer kicked his foot and yelled something, and the sentry immediately held up his hand and said, "Shh, I think I hear them digging out." In the column, Sid Harris went on to point out that Coleridge would fall asleep while working at his desk. On awakening, he would find that he had composed 200 or 300 lines of excellent verse. He wrote his immortal Kubla Khan in such a trance. And such varied men of genius as Descartes, Leibniz, Milton, and Rossini used to stimulate their creative juices by lying down under piles of blankets to meditate. Schopenhauer once remarked that my will is asleep when I do my most effective thinking, which is usually in a semi-trance. And Carlyle, in praising slumber, said, the unconscious is the maker of creative power, the conscious that of mere skill. Sir Walter Scott, that prolific novelist, would often retire at night, having vainly sought an idea for hours, and the idea would promptly greet him the next morning upon arising. I've had that happen. Likewise, Pascal used to lay paper and pencil at his bedside. On many nights he would awaken and start scribbling his famous Pensées. Tartini, the Italian musician, composed his Devil's Trill Sonata while asleep, and some of Schubert's sweetest melodies came to him in dreams. Voltaire one night dreamed an entire canto of his epic poem, La Henriade, in an entirely different and improved version from the one he had written the preceding day. Condorcet, the brilliant French mathematician, had the same fruitful experience with mathematical formula. Diogenes Laertius, the Greek historian, mentions a Stoic philosopher who composed and corrected philosophical treatises while he was sleepwalking. But why go on? That copywriter deserved to be fired not for dozing at his desk, but for failing to impress upon his superiors the ancient, noble, and highly creative precedents he was following. How could he sell toothpaste or detergents if he couldn't sell his own working habits? It was a very good column, and very true. If you're a structural steelworker, dozing can be fatal. But if you're in a creative pursuit, if your stock in trade is ideas, learning to use the power of your unconscious is the key to success. We can be skillful with the conscious mind, but for genius, we need the unconscious. Sigmund Freud, credited with the discovery of the unconscious, said that the conscious mind is like a fountain playing in the sun, while down below is the great ocean of the unconscious. You can learn to use your unconscious or subconscious mind first by realizing you have one, and that it's incredibly capable, and second, by posing questions to it just before meditating, dozing, or sleeping.